used to get this patient in real frequently that I can't remember if she was a type 1 or type 2 diabetic. Her first baby, she had the same and had to deliver in a high risk center because her blood sugars were so uncontrolled and complications of diabetes. But with this pregnancy, she decided she wasn't going to go to the high risk facility. She wanted to come to the small local hospital. And from about 20 weeks on, she came in pretty regularly. Sometimes had to be treated in the ER and then ICU for DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis. This is before the time of insulin pumps, and we had such good control of diabetes. She'd be sent to labor and delivery with abdominal pain, cramping, things like that. I got her in one night, and I'll never forget. Her blood sugar was 666, and I told her I was going to go call the doctor and get a plan of care in line. And she said, well, I want you to know I'm not going to take insulin or anything like that because I believe that Jesus is going to save me. And I said, well, what will you do? Will you take IV fluids? What are you willing to do? And she said, no, I believe, and I don't know if it was in her own mind or her church had convinced her this, that Jesus was going to heal her. So progressed over a few hours. She was developing more the kind of breathing you get with DKA and was becoming more and more sick. And I was just staying right at her bedside. And I said, I want to tell you a story that my dad told in church one Sunday. I said, there was this family and there was a huge flood and they were on the roof of their house and they had prayed and prayed, and God had told them that he was going to save them. And a boat come along, and they said, no, God's going to save us. Go on. Then a helicopter come to save them. They said, no, God's going to save us. Go on. And they ended up dying. And when they got to the pearly gates and got to see God, they said, you said you would save us. And he said, well, I sent you a boat and a helicopter. I told her, I said, many decades ago, women with your same diagnosis had no ability to live. They would die. Maybe the people in their healthcare team and the scientists and all the people who have used their great big brains to make these developments in healthcare, and me and your doctor and all of us who dedicate our lives, our intellect, our time, our energy, our hands, our body to help and serve people who needed us. Maybe that is God saving you. And she sat there a minute and she said, well, I hadn't thought of it like that. I said, you came to the hospital for God to save you. Why didn't you just stay at the house? I'm not saying you didn't have the faith. I'm saying you came to where you could be saved. And she did end up agreeing to treatment, and we ended up transferring her to the high-risk care. And she did deliver there early. I don't remember how early, but her baby got transferred back to us later to grow and finish out the last couple of weeks before it was allowed to go home. And me and her got to be good friends and talked several times about that night. She told me that she appreciated the point of view because she really did believe that refusing medical care was her having faith. It opened her eyes and mind to the thought that there were other ways of thinking about it. And her and I have encountered each other a few times throughout the decades, and we always talk about that night in the hospital room, how she was grateful to have her health and to have her baby there healthy. I always listen to other people's opinions, even if we are real sure that we're right, because sometimes they present it from another point of view that can be valuable to us and may save you a lot of pain and suffering and maybe even save your life.